group projects. They're here, they're a thing, and they refuse to die no matter how much times I threaten the teacher whenever they even think it's a good idea. But if you're a person that somehow escaped the group project, don't worry, you'll probably have one eventually. Just like what happened to me. Because when I was in 3rd grade, I'd almost always avoid working in a group. And no, it's not because I'm like you guys who have no friends and are scared to work in a group. I did this because at the time I thought it'd always be more efficient if I did my work alone. Because if I didn't, I would have to worry about if the work was done poorly since I was confident in my own work, but not so much in others' work. For all I know, they could be convincing me into picking the wrong answer or somehow sneaking in the entire B-movie script into our presentation on the importance of social justice infographics. But although I usually avoided group work, the dreaded group project always finds a way to somehow creep itself into your life. And although I admittedly don't remember too much about these earlier group projects, I do remember small bits of information from some of them. One thing is that I ended up working with the same person in both of the projects I remember. Another thing is that we did a presentation about fossil fuels, and then we ended up making a rap for one of the projects. Which, now that I think about it, is really frickin' weird because I vividly remember it was about the water cycle. We were only meant to show the teacher that we knew the water cycle and all the steps of it, and out of all the options that we had to show that, we somehow agreed on a rap. And the thing is, I'm 100% sure I did not know what rap was at this time. So the other kid probably ended up carrying this presentation, which was basically the exact opposite of what I thought would happen if I worked for somebody else. But when we had to present this crappy rap to the teacher, we weren't allowed to read off a card, since the whole point of this was to be able to memorize the water cycle. And as we approached the teacher, the sudden realization of what I was about to do slapped me in the face like if I'd made a joke about its wife. Am I really gonna do this? Am I really gonna present this crappy excuse for a rap? So when it was finally our turn to present to the teacher, I thought it'd be a good idea to pretend to not know what I was supposed to say and just stand there awkwardly. So obviously, we failed in the eyes of the teacher. Dude, we went through this like 4 times. I thought you knew what we had to say. I did. Well, I guess you guys clearly don't know what the water cycle is. Wait, no, please. This was all because I was saying no to say. Just give us one more chance and you'll get it right next time, I promise. Alright, I'll give you one more chance, but if you don't get it right next time, it's over. No more chances. With this newfound chance to prove our intelligence, the other guy had me write down and memorize what we were supposed to say for the next day. And once the time came to present the crappy rap again, I decided to kill all thoughts in fear of being cringe because I would have rather been cringed than look like a stupid idiot who just didn't know what the water cycle was. But although this experience with the group project was a bit weird, it would basically be the only time where I'd be the person ruining the progress of the group project, because for the most part, all group projects went smoothly after this. Until high school decided to show its face just like your dad at the worst time imaginable. Near the beginning of the year in English, for the big project of the unit, we had to make and present something about the hero's journey, which basically is just some grand plot outline for everybody's lives except yours. But we weren't supposed to make some random slideshow explaining what each step was supposed to be and what happened in it. We were supposed to make an actual story with the plot following most of the things in the hero's journey. So basically immediately, I started brainstorming ideas in my head. And after a couple of minutes, I had a rough idea of what the plot was going to be. I felt rather confident in the idea. I thought it'd be at least an 8-page story, but there was only one problem in my head. If I did this all alone, I'd have to present it alone, and I wasn't confident in that idea. So when one of my friends we'll call Nicolas Cage approached me and asked if I wanted to work with him and one of his friends, I almost immediately said yes to avoid presenting alone. When I went over to them, they had basically no ideas and were still thinking about what they'd do for the project since you were giving several options besides a short story. Now this project has 3 parts to it. The proposal where the teacher gets a general idea of what you're going to do and the part where you get most of your ideas together and brainstorm. The product where you'd make something based off what you chose. And the presentation which is for the most part self-explanatory. And since we were in the first part, Nicolas Cage thought it'd be a good idea to make an ad as our product since an ad is almost like a proposal. I desperately tried to convince him to not do an ad since I wanted to make a short story, and after like 5 minutes of arguing over what we'd do, the lunch bell rang and put a stop to the arguments. Alright, this may not be the best start to this project, and I definitely wouldn't have this problem if I was working alone. But remember why you're doing this, Alex. If you leave this group on presentation day, you'll have to go up there alone and talk to a classroom full of basically strangers. So against my better judgment, I decided to continue with this group, and after lunch was over, I went back to trying to tell Nicolas Cage why making an ad was a stupid idea. And after some more arguing, I finally got into Mr. Cage's head that if we chose the ad, we'd actually have to make an ad, and that would be our product and thing we'd have to present. But once he finally agreed to make a short story like me and the other guy suggested, it was the end of class, and we had basically wasted the first of our very limited project work days. So obviously not a great start to the group project, but I was sure to get better and it would all be worth it when I wouldn't have to present it alone. When the next project work day rolled around, the other guy who we'll call LeBron James wasn't there, so I only had Nicolas Cage to work with. And at this point I had most of the actual plot thought out, so when I started telling Nicolas Cage a basic plot outline, and he started saying things that wouldn't fit in well with the story I had thought of, that didn't sit right with me. And as tensions grew, arguments were looking inevitable again. And you know, I gotta admit that it is mostly my fault, since I cannot collaborate in a project where most of it is my idea. Instead of collaborating, I try to take full control of the project and shut down whatever goes against my vision. So once again, we had some strong disagreements over what to do in the project. But since I'd actually be the one writing most of the things, it didn't really even matter what he said, and I actually kind of stopped caring about what he said. Anyway, once the due date of the first part started approaching, I started to panic. Since we had wasted so much time over creative disagreements, we hadn't actually had much time to write things down. So literally like a day before the first part was due, I quickly tried to finish it. The next day, when we went to class, I told Nicolas Cage and LeBron James that I had finished the first part at home. And once they saw what I did, they scolded me for writing so much by myself. But the first part didn't really matter anymore. Now we had to actually make the short story. So with that very limited time we had, we ended up arguing over how everything was being written and how the plot should actually go. It came to the point where the teacher just kind of sat there and just said that they could feel the creative juices flowing over here. So once again, when the due date was very close to arriving, we had not gotten very far into the story. So we all agreed to work over the weekend to finish the project. And once Saturday rolled around, I worked on the project for basically all day, and when I tried to contact Nicolas Cage or LeBron James, none of them actually responded. Great, now I've basically done this whole project by myself. So the next day I actually managed to finish the project and was able to contact one person, LeBron James. He looked at what I had and was completely dumbfounded that I had written 45 pages for this project. Dude, why did you write 45 pages? It's supposed to be a short story, man! Yeah, I know, 45 pages is short. No, it's not! Well, compared to an actual book it is. Yeah, but I'm not gonna read 45 pages. Well, you're gonna have to. How else is it gonna be presented with you not knowing what happens? Well, how is it going to be presented if it's literally too long? LeBron James had brought up a very good point. We were only gonna be given 5 minutes to present, and we knew for a fact that we wouldn't be able to read the whole thing on presentation day. So when we went back to English, we showed Nicolas Cage all that I had written, and he literally gave up on what his job was, since he was supposed to be the grammar guy and the person who had to make sure that the dialogue didn't sound like a brain-dead rock wrote it. So just like LeBron James, he said that he was not going to read the whole thing. But since presentation day was literally next class, we had to improvise and we had to do it quickly. So instead of making a new summary about what I had just written, we decided to take what I had already written for part 1 and have LeBron James present it on presentation day since he was in charge of presenting. Once presentation day arrived, there was only one major problem. LeBron James didn't finish writing down what he was supposed to say. We tried our best to help him write down everything, but we weren't really able to finish it on time, and the nerves started to kick in when we realized that we were going to be the first group that would present. LeBron James told us that he'd be able to handle it, but I was still very nervous about it. The actual presentation was a whole separate test grade, and since neither Nicolas Cage or LeBron James had actually read the whole story, I wasn't 100% sure that he'd be able to present it well. And although I had doubted LeBron James' abilities, he actually was able to present it very well. So that day, we had finally finished the project. Anyway, I really wanted to talk about other group projects I had to do, but didn't really get the time to talk about them today. So if you liked this video and want a part 2, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and now if you'll excuse me, I need to burn down some old schoolwork.
Hello everyone, welcome to the end of the video. Like I said, if you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, stuff like that. And I know it's weird that there's already been like 3 sequels to the school stories videos since the first one, which was only about a year ago. But you know, I promise the next like couple of videos won't be about school stories. Probably. I have something else in the works right now that I think you guys might like. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying your summer. If it's summer for you guys, if you're watching this when it comes out, If it's not, well then, hope you're enjoying your day. Anyway, like I said, I need to go burn some stuff.